Here's the second part to Lab 5.2, and we have lots of equations to balance, and we're going to be putting in coefficients in front of these chemical formulas. Remember, we can't change any of the subscripts in these, but we can add those coefficients. And we can do this either with the counting method that we used from the previous methods, such as this right here, or we can do it mentally. What I'd like you to do is, since you already have practice in doing this with the counting method, I want you to go through the entire page and you get to choose. You can either use the counting method or you could do it mentally. Now I'm going to go over the first one mentally, then I'm just going to give you time to pause for everything and to see if you can finish the rest of them. So we're going to go over the first one together, and again, sometimes it requires going back and forth, especially when you do this mentally. So let's take a look. We have sodiums and oxygens. So it's sort of the counting method, but we're not going to write everything on paper. I have 2 here and I have 1 here. So the reconciling number between 1 and 2 is going to be 2. So I have to have 2 sodiums. Okay? So I have 2 NAs, now I have 2 NAs. Those are balanced, but the oxygens now are not balanced. Here I have 2 oxygens, here I have 1 oxygen. I need to have 2 oxygens. Can't put a 2 there, so I have to put the 2 in the front. But if you remember, this gives me 2 oxygens, but now how many sodiums does it give me? 2 times 2 is 4. So I actually have to have 4 sodiums on the left as well, so I'm just going to come back here and make that into a 4 like that. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and see if you can go through these mentally and finish as many as you can, and then come back for the solutions. So I'll let you pause and then come back. Okay, so let's go through one by one. Hopefully you've finished all these. It's not going to do you any good to go through these just by copying them. So let's go through. I have 2 hydrogens here and I have 2 hydrogens here. Those look balanced. I have 2 oxygens here. I have 1 oxygen. Therefore, I need 2 oxygens. So I now have 2 oxygens, but that also gives me 2 times 2, or 4 hydrogens. So 2 times what is going to give me 4? And it's going to be 2. And then everything else is going to be balanced. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. I have 2 sodiums here. I'm just always starting with the first element. 2 sodiums here, I have 1 right here. So I'm going to have to put a 2 right there. That gives me 2 NAs and 2 CLs. Okay, let's take a look at the S. S and S, 1S, 1S, those look balanced. 4 O's, 4 O's. 1 Ca, 1 Ca. 2 CLs, and then 2 times 1 gives me 2 CLs. So that was the only thing that was needed to balance that one. Okay, the next one. How many aluminums do I have? 2. What number needs to be put right here? 2. Okay, take a look at 3 and 2. What's going to be the reconciling number between 3 and 2? And that's going to be 6. So if I multiply this oxygen by 3, 3 times 2 gives me 6. But what number is going to have to go in the front right here? 3 times 2 will give me 6. But then notice also that the 2 times the 2 gives me how many aluminums? That gives me 4. So we have to cross off the 2 and make that a 4. Next one I have, this, oh, we've seen this before. 2 nitrogens, 2 nitrogens. 2 times 3 is 6. So 2 times what will give you 6? And it's 3. Okay, I have 1 Fe or 1 iron here. I have 3 irons here. So that means I'm going to be putting a 3 right there for the irons. Going on to the H's, I have 2 H's here, and I have 2 H's here. So nothing seems to be needed right there. But here I have 1 O, and here I have 4 O's. So I need to balance my O's by going back and saying 1, which is for the H2O, there's an invisible 1 there. 1 times 4 will give me my 4 oxygens. But then notice that also gives me 4 times 2, gives me 8 hydrogens. So 2 times what will give me 8, and it will be 4. Okay, P4, we have 4 P's. I have 4 P's here. And I have 10 oxygens, and I have 2 oxygens. So what's going to be the lowest multiple of 2 and 10? It's going to be 10. So I'm going to have 5 times 2 is 10. And that's it for that one. Okay, this is one of the hard ones because we're dealing with oxygen all by itself, and then we have oxygen in 2 different chemical formulas. So let's kind of go through this step by step, and it might require going back and forth a couple of times. So I have 2 C's here, so I'm going to need 2 C's here. Okay, that gives me 2 C's, but it also gives me 4 O's. Now I have 4 O's, and then I have 5 right there. So let's do the H's next. Remember, we want to do the oxygen last. So I have 6 hydrogens. 2 times what will give me 6, and it's going to be 3. So 3 times 2 gives me 6 for the hydrogens. 2 times 1 gives me 2 for the carbons. Now let's count the total number of oxygens. I have 2 times 2 right here, which is going to give me 4. And then I'm going to have 3 times 1. That's going to give me 7 oxygens. Well, what's going to be the common number between 2 and 7 total over here? It's going to be 14. So 2 times what will equal 14? It's going to be 7. 7 times what? 7 times 2. Since these both have oxygen, I'm going to have to double both of them. And then let's kind of check all these. 6 times 2 gives me 12 hydrogens. How many do I have over here? I have 6, so I need to double this one as well. 2 times 2 gives me 4 carbons. 4 times 1 gives me 4 carbons. 7 times 2 again gives me the 14 oxygens. 4 times 2 gives me 8. 6 times 1 gives me 6. 8 plus 6 is going to give me 14. That was a really hard one to do. The next one, silicon and chlorine. I have 1 silicon, I have 1 silicon. I have 4 chlorines, I have 2. So I'm going to have to make it 2 times 2, and that's it. Here I have 1 carbon, here I have 1 carbon. Here I have 4 H's, here I have 2. So I need a 2 times 2 to match the 4 hydrogens that are over there. That's it. Please ask questions if you have them, because this can be easy for some and it can be very tricky for others. And if you're not understanding how to do it mentally, then I would suggest going back and doing the counting method until you're more familiar with the mental and you feel stronger with that.